Dear students, in this session we are going to see how to use object as a parameter to a function and how to return object from a function. Okay, so to demonstrate that, here I have given a question. So we have to follow this question and do the coding. So finally you can able to know how to pass objects as a parameter to a function and how to return object from a function. Okay, so according to the question, first we have to create a class called box with integer data members with length, breadth and depth. Okay, so here is my box class. Here is my box class. So I am going to create a 3 data members of integer type. First one is length, next one is breadth, and the last one is depth. Okay, so 3 parameters: length, breadth and depth. So all the 3s are created. So first is over. Next we need to create one constructor which should initialize the data values to 0. Okay, so I need to create a constructor. So public box, it is an empty constructor. By using that, I am going to initialize all my data members to 0. Okay, so creating a constructor, so that will initialize the data members to 0. Okay, initialize the data members to 0. And now we'll move to the question. Next we need to create a constructor which will initialize to fixed values. So I need to create some augmented constructor. So now I have 3 data members. So I need to create a constructor box which contain 3 data members: length, breadth and depth. So by using that, I am initializing the values. Length is equal to L, breadth is equal to B and depth is equal to D. So I have initialized the 3 members with the data members. That is, I am using the parameterized constructor. Okay, so using the parameterized constructor, I initialize the members. Now the third step, we have to define a member function to display it. So I need to create a member function. So public void display. So in the display function, I need to display the values. So as out system.out.println, I need to display the values. So directly I can display the values. So length followed by breadth, then followed by depth. So all the values I displayed. Okay, and now go to the next line. The member function add should add 2 objects of type box which should be passed as an argument to the function. So I need to create a member function called add. That function has to add the 2 objects of type box. So that function has an argument that is passed as a box type. Then only I can able to add the 2 boxes, and adding of 2 box value I will get. Okay, so I have to take the box object as an argument to the add method, and within that I have to write a logic to add the 2 objects. Okay, so I need to write it here. So I need to add a method. So I need to add a method. Okay, so I need to add a method, the box B1 and box B2. So what logic I need to write? I want to add box 1 length to box 2's length. Then I want to add box 1's breadth to box 2's breadth. Then I want to add box 2's depth to box 1's depth to box 2's depth. Okay, so create an add method which will add 2 box objects and take the box object as an argument. Okay, it's finished. And now that method has to return the result also as a box object. Okay, so whenever you add 2 members, so that you have to store it in a result. Okay, so that result also need to be stored in a box object. So I am going to store with a temporary box object which will hold the addition of the two objects. So I am creating a temporary object. So whatever I am adding, so that will be stored in my temporary object. So first object, second object added together and stored in the temporary object. So every property I have to add individually and then it has to be stored in my temporary object. Okay, so temporary object added. And now I have to return the result box. So what is my result? So the result is the temporary that I have to return. So result temp. So when I result, so the result is I have to return. Okay, so I have to use the return keyword. Then I am returning it back. So what I am returning? I am returning a temporary variable that is an object of type box class. So in my function also I have to put a return type. So generally you may use with the return type is void, but now we are returning the object of type class box. So your return type of the function also box. Okay, so I make it as public. So public box add method, then passing two arguments. Object argument is a box class performing addition of two box objects. The result is stored in another box object and the result is returned back from the add method. Okay, so now this is also over. Now we have to create a main program and we have to create two box object that you have to initialize from the user input. Okay, so you have to create a scanner class because we want to get the input from the user. So scanner is equal to new scanner system dot in. So if I use the scanner class, I have to import java dot util dot scanner. Okay, import java dot util dot scanner. So scanner class is ready. So at the end I have to close the scanner. So I will close it. Okay. So now I need to get the data members for the box class. Okay. So I want to initialize length, breadth and depth. So now I want to create this three values, length, breadth and depth. I have to get from the user and that I have to pass to my box object to initialize, because you have to create two box objects which should be initialized from the user input. So already I have my box constructor which should be initialized with the three values. So in order to get the three value, so I have to get it. Okay, so I am going to write it yes out, enter the values for box 1. Okay, enter the values for box 1. So I want to get the length I want to get with s dot next int because it is the integer type, and breadth is equal to s dot next int, and then depth is equal to s dot next int. So I got the data members for the first box value. So I want to create the box instance, new box of passing three data members b and h. So by using this, my first object is ready. Box 1 is initialized with the data members whatever you got from the user. So by getting that, you are passing length, breadth and depth, and we are initializing the first object. Now copy the same thing that I have to repeat for the second box. Okay, repeat for the second box. So now enter the value for the box 2. Enter the value for the box 2. Get the data members, length, breadth, depth, and now we are creating the object 2. Okay, now we are creating the object 2 and initialize with the data members of box 2. Okay, so now what is the third step? We want to create another, so two objects we have created with the initialized box values. Then the third one we have to create is not initialized, that is your result. Okay, so box result. So that need not to initialize. That need not to initialize. Okay. So without initializing, we are creating it. So now we have to invoke the respective functions and perform the addition of two objects, and then you have to display the result. So if I want to invoke, so I have to put result dot, so my box 3, I have to call the add method. The add method needs the first argument is box 1, the second argument is box 2, because add method needs to take two arguments which is of box type. Again, the result will be written back as a box. That is my result box. Okay, because you know the syntax of your add method. The add method takes two arguments. The add method takes two arguments, box 1 and box 2. And the return type of the add method is again a box type. So in the result, I am storing the results whatever I get from box 1, box 2. After adding, the result will be stored here. Okay. So now we want to display all the results. So I am going to display S out box 1. Okay. S out box 1. So box 1, I have to call box 1 dot display. Then I am using with box 2. Box 2, that I am using with b2 dot display. Then the final one is the result. Final one is the result. So that is available in the result variable of box type. So that I am calling with display. Okay, so I think you all clear. So first we have to create a box class with 3 data members of integer type, and we should initialize one constructor with empty and one constructor with fixed values, add a data member called display, and a data member called add function, which takes two objects of box type as argument. After performing the logic, it has to return the result back also a box object. So we create a box with 3 arguments, then initialize the constructor with 0, initialize the constructor with fixed values, display method, then add method, take two objects as argument and return the result also back as box object. Okay. Now the main program we have to create two initialized objects. Get the input from the user, initialize two objects, box 1 and box 2. Then one object which is not initialized. That is our result object which is want to hold the result. So now I have to invoke the respective function. The respective function is the add function. By passing the two object arguments, I am performing the addition of two objects and the result will be written back in result object. After doing that, I am printing all the values with box 1, box 2 and display. Okay, now I am going to execute the program. So when I execute it, it is asking enter the values for box 1. Enter the values for box 1. So I am entering 10, 20, 30. So enter the box values 2. So I am going to enter 5, then 10, then 20. So the first box value was 10, 20, 30. The second box value was 5, 10, 20. And the result is added with the box values of each parameters. Length 10 plus 5, breadth 20 plus 10 and depth is 30 plus 20. Okay. So now you know how to pass object as argument to the function and how to return object from the function. Thank you.